Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And what a lovely morning it is. Welcome. Welcome to this week's Duchenne Method Hour, where I invite you into our sacred circle of connection to acknowledge, engage, and support one another into discussing topics related to mind-body alignment. Today, we explore the topic of patience and how patience relates to our overall mind body health. I am going to give it another second to see if anybody jumps on here. But if not, no worries. I am going full force. I have some exciting content to share with you this morning. If you show up, when you show up, please be sure to introduce yourself. Say a little hello in the chat. Let me know that you're here so that I can move into a discussion format. I'm here to share information about what I have learned over 30 years as a coach, holistic practitioner, and mind-body alignment specialist. And I would love to have your feedback and your interaction. So whenever you're here, please do show up, write your name in the chat, and let's get moving with today's topic of patience. Patience. Hey, how are you on the scale of patience? Would you say that you are a very patient person, that you are a medium-sized patient person, or do you have zero patience at all? For most of us, I would say that it's anywhere from maybe having some patience to not having a whole lot of patience. It's really beautiful to be able to meet someone who has a lot of patience. People with patience appear to me happier. They appear to me less anxious. They seem to have cracked a very important code in the world of being human by integrating, cultivating this relationship with simply slowing down, for noticing what happens, right? Cultivating a sense of being, hey, good morning, salut, c'est Karine. Bonjour Karine, bienvenue. Wonderful. My beautiful niece is here. Karine. Everybody say hi, Karine. Awesome. I think it's you, Karine. Faut que tu mettes ton nom parce que sinon, je ne sais pas que c'est toi parce que je ne vois pas le nom de la personne sur le Facebook user. Ça fait juste dire Facebook user. Okay, so onwards with the patience. So, Karine, I was just asking, where are you on the scale of patience? Are you someone who is very patient, in the middle patient, or has little patience? And what I was saying was that most of us, I think, are anywhere from being a little bit of patience to no patience. And certainly it's something I have been working on for years. Yes, no patience. Thank you. I know, me too. It's crazy, right? It's so difficult. Cultivating patience is a skill. It's an art form. And I notice that when people have patience, that they feel like they are more settled in their bodies. They look like they have discovered a big secret about being human, which is to cultivate this beautiful quality of being patient. So I did a little research for you, and I wanted to share what I found out on the topic of patience, and more than that, to share with you a few ways why you might cultivate patience. What are the benefits of cultivating patience, and how do we do it? Well, you know, it's like anything else in life that is worthy of anything. It is to practice, practice. And so you have to catch yourself in the moment. When you find yourself being impatient, this is the big secret of using the art of the pause. We must slow down, take a step back instead of reacting into the fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. Oh my God, I'm going to have to move. Oh my God, right? Like this fight, flight, freeze reflex of moving into reactivity. And so patience is quite literally the opposite of that. It's being able to take a step back and pause. The other thing that really helps with patience is to have people around you that are your soundboards. So for example, my niece, who is here with me today, we have a good sounding board together. When she needs support, she calls me. If I need support, I reach out to her. So there's a relationship, there's a trampoline effect that I am not alone. Whenever something happens and I get scared or anxious about something, I know that I have a system around me, a group of people who I can depend on. So your life, your network, your friends, your social circle, people who are closer to you need to be people you can depend on. And if you don't have those people in your life, chop, chop. It's time to find them. What are you waiting for? So building strong relationships mean that we invest energy, we invest ourselves into being in relationship with another. We do things for other people, and other people tend to reciprocate in the like. If those people do not reciprocate in the like, they are not your friends. Period. Right? You have to work harder, look harder to find better friends. And that too, like patience, which is related to patience, isn't it? Building our network of friends and support people in our lives is related to building patience. We need patience to create those relationships. It's so important. And if you're going to have those relationships and you're going to open up to having a support system for you in your life, there's also this practice with patience of being able to listen, to intake feedback, to intake information, and to really be open to the possibility of what someone else might have to tell you. Even if you don't like it sometimes, that's what true friends are for, is that you cultivate a relationship of trust and patience with one another so that you can fall onto someone else when you need help and support. So, patience, my friends. Here's the thing with patience. It is essential to your happiness. It is essential to your happiness. Think about that for a minute. It is essential to your happiness. Having patience means being able to wait calmly in the face of frustration and adversity. So anywhere there is frustration or adversity, nearly everywhere, isn't that true? There's always adversity somewhere in the world. We have the opportunity to practice being patient. At home, if you have children at home with your kids, with our colleagues, at the grocery store, with your neighbors, patience can really make the difference between annoyance and equanimity, between worry and tranquility. So just for a moment, think of all the benefits that patience can bring to you. So the idea is to choose, to begin, to decide, to practice taking small steps into developing patience. So here's one reason why you might want to develop patience. And I'm sorry if you're hearing noise in the background. There's some construction going on around here, but it shouldn't be too overwhelming. Okay, so patient people. Number one, most important thing of all, patient people enjoy better mental health. Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think that patient people might develop better health? Just write in the comments, why might patients develop better mental health? And I see there's somebody else on the call. Say good morning, hello, welcome. If you want to say hi and write your name in the chat so I know you're here with us, that would be fantastic. Okay, so my question is, why is it that people with patients might have better mental health? Think about that for a moment. This finding is probably easy to believe if you call to mind the stereotypical impatient person, right? The red face, the steaming head, like if you're driving, road rage is a very real thing. People get mad, crazy, right? So according to a study, 2007 study by the Fuller Theological Seminary, patient people tend to experience less depression and negative emotions because they can cope better with upsetting or stressful situations. They also rate themselves as more mindful and feel more gratitude, more connection towards mankind and to the universe, and a greater sense of abundance. That is huge in itself. You experience less depression and negative emotions by developing more patience. So, is it worth it to practice developing patience? To decrease the possibility of depression? To decrease the possibility of feeling isolation, feeling alone, feeling like you are the only one in the world, that nobody else can support you? So this is super important because on a physiological level, this affects your health. This affects your digestive system. It affects your regulatory, your nervous system, how to regulate your nervous system. It affects your respiratory system. These are no small practices that I'm inviting you into here in this sacred circle. These are big deal practices that if you start to gently, slowly integrate them in your life, they will change how you feel, not just about your life, but about yourself. You will raise your level of self-appreciation. Yeah. So how do we do it, my dear? Right? If you're more patient, if you cultivate this practice of more patience, and it really helps you to eliminate levels of depression and negative emotions, well, isn't it worth it to explore it a little bit deeper? There is another research that sought to refine our understanding of patience, recognizing that it comes in many different stripes. One type is interpersonal patience, which doesn't involve waiting, but simply facing annoying people with equanimity. Equanimity means with compassion, with love. In a study of nearly 400 undergraduates, the study found that those who are more patient toward others also tend to be more hopeful and more satisfied with their lives. This is a huge deal, to be satisfied with our lives. Hey, welcome, whoever's showing up on the call here. Welcome and good morning. You can say your name, say hello in the chat box. Let me know you're here. Give me your name. I'm excited that you're here with us. We are talking about patience, why cultivating it can help us have healthier, happier lives, how being more patient in your life helps to regulate your physiology, your physiological system. So if you are someone who has a hard time falling asleep at night, cultivating patience with yourself in the evening time, such as turning off any electronics at least 1 hour before going to bed. At least 1 hour. No thumbing Instagram or Facebook. 1 hour before you go to bed. That requires a sense of discipline towards yourself, to cultivate patience with yourself, because the tendency is you want to get on the computer. You want, because you're bored, or it's before you go to bed, or you can't fall asleep. So instead of reading a book or instead of getting a delicious cup of tea, we move to our electronics, which stirs up the adrenaline in our system and prevents us from falling asleep. So how does patience move into this equation? Well, if you practice patience with yourself, which means if you say, okay, I'm going to be patient, I'm going to put this away for now, I'm going to give myself the space to take a step back and to try something different. So getting yourself that cup of tea or sitting on your couch and reading a book, very different than watching TV or being stimulated by an outside activity. And in this way, what starts to happen, of course, when you cultivate this level of patience, you also start to raise your level of awareness, of consciousness, and of self-appreciation. Because as you become more patient with yourself, you are instantly becoming more patient with your environment. And I don't know that there's any one skill or trait that is more important today than being patient. You see it all around you all day long. You see it if you're driving, there's road rage. You see it with parents and their children. You see it between you and your lover, your partner, your wife, your spouse. You see it with your colleagues if they don't respond the way you want them to, if they say something you consider stupid. We move into rage and anger and annoyance, this interpersonal relationship of annoyance, instead of just stepping back and let the traffic go by. Let the colleagues' comment go by. You know, it's that expression of letting water go under the bridge. You know what I mean? Does this make sense? If you're on this call here and you're listening to me, give me a one. Give me a one in the comments if you feel like this is resonating with you, if it's making sense for you. Okay, moving right along. So one type of patience is what we call interpersonal patience. When you're facing annoying people with compassion, that you don't react to annoying people. Another type of patience involves waiting out life's hardships without frustration or despair. Think here of the unemployed person who persistently fills out job applications, or the cancer patient waiting for her treatment to work. Unsurprisingly, in the study I read, this type of courageous patience was linked to more hope. So there is a direct correlation between cultivating patience with life's hardships. Now, we have all been through life's hardships. It's been hard. There are times in your life where you've been hit. Certainly, I have had that relationship in my life. We're knocked down, so to speak. If you've had a major injury, if you've dealt with a serious bout of depression for any amount of time, excuse me, you can relate to what I'm saying. Becoming more patient with life's hardships as you're moving through a hardship. If you're going through a divorce, oof, that's hard. If you're going through a separation, if you're in divorce court and you have children, being able to steady yourself, to become more patient with life's hardships can change the quality of your health. Finally, developing patience over daily hassles, for example, traffic jams, long lines at the grocery store, a malfunctioning computer, seems to go along with good mental health. In particular, people who have this type of patience are more satisfied with life and feel less depressed. So number 2. So number 1, right, was patient people enjoy better mental health. And who doesn't need better mental health? Number 2, patient people are better friends and neighbors. Patient people are better friends and neighbors. In relationships with others, patience becomes a form of kindness. In relationship with others, patience becomes a form of kindness. Think of the best friend who comforts you night after night over the heartache that just won't go away, or the grandchild who smiles through the story she has heard her grandfather tell her countless times. Research suggests that patient people tend to be more cooperative, more empathic, more equitable, and more forgiving. Patient people tend to be more forgiving. Patience involves emphatically assuming some personal discomfort to alleviate the suffering of those around us. So think about that. Perhaps there are people in your life that need to be forgiven. Maybe you need to forgive. Maybe you need to forgive yourself. And maybe you need to forgive others. No matter how bad the situation was, it is proven through research that people who cultivate patience, who have more patience in their lives, tend to forgive more easily. It's kind of this space that you're able to navigate between taking a position of righteousness, in a sense. You know, when we have been hurt, when we have been knocked down, and I see your comment, Danielle, thank you, relating to what you're saying about having been knocked down. Yeah, totally, right? All of us have been knocked down. And this capacity to open our hearts to practice this very incredible, magical, essential tool of forgiveness, that requires patience. One doesn't go without the other. So you have to maybe take a little inventory, take an inventory on your life and see, is there anyone you need to forgive in your life? And you know that person or those people if you are still stimulated, if as I am asking you this question, if you feel like you are charged, if there's someone in your life that you hate. Hate's a big word, but sometimes we can have momentary hating. It's okay to momentarily hate someone. I think it's okay because it's a true emotion that arises. So it's not so much that when you hate someone, you're going to go, and wring them out at the throat. But it's more about someone. Usually if we hate someone or if we have major resentful feelings towards someone, it's because they've hurt us. We don't dislike people for no reason. We have retaliation against people because we've been hurt, because people have hurt us in our lives. And how do we deal with this? How do you go on living a life of hurt? Well, we don't. Being hurt doesn't give us more life. It takes away life. So we need to pull ourselves together and to figure out a way, how can we move forward in our lives, even though we were knocked down, even though we were depressed, even though we went through a really rough period of time. And listen, I'm not talking about a week. I'm not talking about a month. I'm talking about years of going through a rough time. Sometimes it takes 4, 5, 6, or more years. We feel like we're going through a difficult period. Henceforth, the very important, I think, practice of being patient. Because if you're going through a turmoil, like a huge transformation that can last for several years, you can't be in that state of depression for all those years. It's really, really hard. I'm not saying you can't. It does happen. People do stay in that state. What I'm suggesting is there are ways for us to move out of that deep state of depression, of that deep state of resentment. And that is to cultivate patience as we are moving through those moments. Because remember, we are complex beings. We're not just resentful. We don't just dislike or hate this person or that person for hurting us. At the same time as that's true, we are also happy people. We are also in relationship people. We are also working people. We are also people who take care of our children. We are also people who take care of our families. So even though you have this relationship of resentment in your heart, you're not just resentful all of the time. Or rather, my invitation, I should say, is to look at how you can go beyond just being resentful. Because just being resentful or just hating or just thinking about how someone has done you wrong will suck the life energy out of you. Will suck the life energy out of you. And listen, you have one life to live. This is it. So we have to make decisions for ourselves. We have to decide, am I going to live my life constantly being in a state of resentment, or am I going to slow down and start this practice of being patient with me, first and foremost, to realize that as I cultivate this relationship with patience, that I'm becoming calmer, I'm becoming more collected, that I can see beyond the impossibility. When you cultivate patience, there's a little tweak there, there's a little crack, right? It's like the picture on my banner for this group page, right? There's a light that comes out of us. And it requires patience, whether it's 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years. How are you going to choose to move into the beginning of the rest of your life? And I'm talking about this moment. We're starting right now. This is the moment that the beginning of the rest of your life starts. So in this moment, check in with what are the major thoughts rolling around in your head. If you pause for a moment and you just check in, what are the thoughts that are at the forefront of your mind? What shows up right away? And you can share it in the chat if you want to. Share it in the chat if you want to, because we can have a little interaction about it. You know, just check in. What are the thoughts at the forefront of your mind? Because those thoughts at the forefront of your mind are leading you. That's what's leading you in your life right now. So if those thoughts at the forefront of your mind are about worrying or are about thinking about someone who's done you harm and how you can't get over it, or how you can't forgive them, or what a bunch of assholes they are, that's the filter through which you live your life. That is the filter through which you live your life. So what do we do when we come here every week? We sit in this circle and we communicate with one another. We practice the art of mindful communication. We learn to acknowledge, engage, and support with oneself and with one another, so that we might go back out in the world and actually have a place to practice these tools. Today, we're talking about patience. How do you cultivate patience in your life? So write in the comments, how do you cultivate patience in your life? How do you do it tangibly? It's really helpful when we share with one another, because it gives us more tools, not just what I'm suggesting, but also you have tools. You're dealing with this in your life. You're growing with this in your life. The kind of selflessness that is found among people with the 3 types of patience I spoke about: interpersonal, there was interpersonal, what did I say? Interpersonal, being patient with life's hardships, and also daily, being patient with daily hassles. Studying being kind, being able to find selflessness with all 3 types of patience really increases our likelihood to be more agreeable in life. We tend to be more agreeable in life, means that we have less constraints It also pertains to actually being more positive overall in life. We develop a sense of warmth, kindness, and cooperation. Patience helps us to develop more kindness, warmth, and cooperation. The interpersonally patient people tended to be less lonely, perhaps because making and keeping friends with all their quirks and slip-ups generally requires a healthy dose of patience. Patience may enable individuals to tolerate flaws in others, therefore displaying more generosity, more compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. So this is super important because you have people in your life who get on your nerves. It might be a family member, it might be a friend. And it's so easy. It's so easy to gossip. You'll say something, oh, I really love, my niece is here with us this morning. I really love my niece. But sometimes she can be this way. Or the other way around, right? If she talks about me, she says, oh, I love my auntie. She's so amazing. But you know how she is sometimes. That last part is called gossip. I want to invite you to practice when you think about someone that you love, that's someone who is close to you in your life, even though they're not perfect, right? Obviously, they have their quirks. I want you to practice only saying how wonderful they are. To practice saying, my best friend is this way, that way, and the other way. She's so kind. She's always there for me. She shows up when I need her. She's a beautiful woman full of light. And to stay away from adding the gossipy things at the end, and to just accepting people exactly for who they are. And let's start with ourselves. Let's start with accepting ourselves exactly as we are. I know that's not easy, but it's essential. It is absolutely essential. If we're going to move into becoming the best version of who we are, we have to accept ourselves, how we are. And from the point of acceptance, of course, is correlated with having patience with ourselves, isn't it? From this point of acceptance, this is where the ground starts to shake a little bit, because there's no more defense. There's no more saying, but I'm broken, but I'm defective, but I'm sick, but I'm in a bad place right now. We're not going to qualify those as bad things. We're just going to simply observe and look at them as they are, accepting oneself as we are. Because when we do that, and we do that by cultivating patience, right? Because who's the first person we get mad at in our lives? Usually it's ourselves. I'll give you an example. I was on a call with some friends this weekend, and one of my friends said something that, really lit me up, and I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. How can people think this way? And I really, was very verbose about it, right? Like I was really lit up. And then we had the conversation, everybody said goodbye and we love each other. And then I thought about it afterwards and I thought to myself, oh my God, I could have handled that so much better. I could have been so much more tender, so much kinder in the way I expressed myself. And so what did I do? I practiced patience. I said, it's okay, Anne-Marie, you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. I'm very enthusiastic, right? I have a lot of energy and I have big opinions. And so when something shows up, especially if something sounds unjust, it makes me crazy. I feel like people should have more patience, right? Should be more loving, should be kinder, right? But if I'm shooting like that, I should all over myself. So I want to pull that back. And instead of being so easily triggered in that moment and having to express myself the way that I did, it wasn't a bad thing, but it was a little over the top. I could have definitely been more tender and generous. So I'm going to read your comment here. Thank you. Some overwhelm and patience needed as I wait to hear about new job and new apartment. Patience needed. Meanwhile, want to sleep today, stay in bed. I was so excited about it yesterday, but nervous about credit checks and background checks. need landlord to take a chance on me, hearing about all this week. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that is a big deal. So it sounds like there's some anxiety going on there. Yeah, waiting for a new job, a new apartment. For sure, that's going to raise up some emotions of anxiety. So, how might we, in this sacred circle of creation this morning, create a space for you to feel heard and loved and supported and acknowledged? And you're going to get the answer when the answer comes. So, here's the trick. You're going to get an answer at some point. So, how might you today? Maybe staying in bed for you is a good thing today. I tend to feel like when we are waiting on news like that, or there's a sense of anxiety or overwhelm, I tend to feel like it's always a good idea to get into movement. But I don't know. I don't know what your day was like yesterday. Maybe for you, the action is to stay in bed. For me, I most definitely need to go out for a walk. Because otherwise, when I'm stagnant like that, if I'm in bed all day, I start to overthink. And also, once I start to move, there's more energy that moves through my body, and it tends to bring up different thoughts. That's why I love going out for walks in nature, because I open up my mind and I ask my guides to really help me clear my mind, to really help me think about something different. And sometimes I'll literally listen to music. I'll start to sing, or I listen to some great motivational speaker. I'll look at some TED Talks that are super positive, and it really helps me, because here's what happens. When you shift your physiology, when you shift your state and you start to get into action, it actually helps your energetic circle around you to move in the direction that you want. I'll repeat that again. When we get into action, when we start to do something that helps us to raise our level of energy, when we get into movement, it shifts us on a molecular level. Your combinations of molecules shift. You start to think, you start to move and think about more energetic, positive thoughts. You listen to great podcasts, you listen to music, you start to sing, you listen to whatever turns you on that is positive, that is motivating. That in itself starts to shift the environment around you and affects the outcome of these things you're waiting on, the job and the apartment. 1,000%. That's how it works. So I don't know if this is helpful, but if it is, I totally encourage you to get on up and to go for a walk and to listen to some music and just let it go. You've applied for the job. You've, asked for the new apartment. Just take a moment and just let it go for now. There's nothing you can do about it. So there's no point in worrying, is there? So maybe I hope this is helpful. I know for me, it's always the go-to. I always get up and get out of the house and go for a walk. Or have a delicious chai tea. I do stuff like that makes me feel good. And I remember how fortunate and lucky I am in my life all the time. I have my health. And with my health, I can do everything. So the apartment, the job, it'll come. It will come. And to believe and to trust that the perfect thing is on its way also. So there's the belief, there's the prayer, there's the asking the universe to support you, and then there's getting up and getting into action, literally getting your body into action, into movement. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. I appreciate it. Okay, so patience helps us achieve our goals. Directly in correlation to your comment. Thank you. Patience helps us achieve our goals. The road to achievement is a long one, and those without patience who want to see results immediately may not be willing to walk it. Think of the recent critiques of millennials for being unwilling to pay their dues in an entry-level job, jumping from position to position rather than growing and learning. There's a lot to be said for growing and learning. In 2012, there was a study that examined whether patience helps students get things done. In 5 surveys they completed over the course of a semester, Patient people of all stripes reported exerting more effort toward their goals than other people did. Those with interpersonal patience, in particular, made more progress toward their goals and were more satisfied when they achieved them, particularly if their goals were difficult, compared with less patient people. According to this study's analysis, that greater satisfaction with achieving their goals explained why these patient achievers were more content with their lives as a whole. So patience helps us achieve our goals. And of course, patience is linked to good health. So this is what I was just sharing with you about getting up and out, to reframe the situation that you might be in at this moment in a state of overwhelm, and waiting on something to happen, instead of waiting for an answer to come, to rather gently bring yourself to center, vertical position, to move yourself out of the house, and to reframe the situation. Reframe the situation as an opportunity, as a situation of opportunity, that this is going to come through. And if this doesn't come through, there is something better that is coming for you. There is something better that is coming for you. Practice mindfulness. Reframe the situation. Something like this or better is coming. Mindfulness, right? To make sure that mindfulness brings a sense of peace where we are less impulsive. So the art and practice of mindfulness is to help us move through those moments of stagnancy, of overwhelm. We become less impulsive and more willing to wait for the outcome. And finally, in particular, what is most helpful in cultivating patience is to practice gratitude, always to practice gratitude. And I'd like to say, I want to also say that practicing gratitude is one, and also practicing appreciation, to appreciate what you have already, what is already working in your life. That your daughter, is a happy little girl, that she's growing up like beautiful and strong and really smart. To appreciate what's already here. Maybe if you're staying in bed, that you have some really comfortable sheets and that your mattress is really comfortable, right? Appreciate that you have a bathroom in your living quarters, that you have access to water. These are things that really make a big difference in terms of how to cultivate patience in our lives. And I wanted to share one final thing around children. I found this really cool study about positive parenting. And Karine, this is for you right now, especially because you are on the call with us and because you have a little girl. You have a beautiful daughter, my great niece, beautiful Maya. So here are a few tips for raising patient kids. So one of the things they say here is to not drop everything to help them. Don't drop everything to help your child. Here's what it says. Our children are just as human as we are, which means, like us, they also struggle with craving instant gratification. Just like we'd like to hit every green light on the way to work, they'd like to have a snack the moment they ask for one. But life doesn't work that way. Sometimes we have to wait. And when we wait, it's easy to become frustrated. But here's the beautiful thing about the wait. That's where patience is learned. As long as safety isn't a concern, there's no need to drop everything and help your child the second they cry your name. Allow them to wait. You know the routine. Mom, can you get me a glass of milk? Dad, I can't tie my shoes. As parents, you know a thing or two about how it feels to be at your children's beck and call. From the moment they're born, it seems like you're always dropping what you're doing and hurrying to their aid. Of course, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. As parents, of course, we should help our children, especially in the early years. But we want to be careful to not cross the line from helping to enabling. So here's a suggestion. Instead of jumping immediately when your child asks something, try a when-then approach. So for example, when I'm finished folding laundry, then I'll grab you a glass of milk. For example, when I've finished my conference call, then I'll help you learn to tie your shoes. This is also a fantastic opportunity for you to try out a tool known as control the environment. So let me ask you a question. If no adults lived in your household, how would you arrange the environment so your children could operate entirely independently? Maybe you would put a step stool in the kitchen so your daughter can grab her glass when she's thirsty, or you might lay a pair of easy to slip on shoes outside her bedroom door. Instead of dropping everything and running to her whenever she calls your name, you've now rearranged her physical environment so she can do everything for herself. Isn't that great? The next thing is make time for training. So what I just shared about organizing the house as if there were no adults in there and she's alone in there by herself, it's training. You're training her to become patient, which will serve her so well as an adult. Take time for training. Your children weren't born with the ability to wait patiently. And just like brushing their teeth or learning proper bedtime routines, patience is a learned skill that takes time, practice, and training. Take time for training is a powerful tool that any parent can use. So they suggest here to make a list of all the things your children typically ask you to help them with. Look at the list and narrow it down to what you know they can do themselves. So for example, you don't expect your 2-year-old to tie their shoes, but your 7-year-old can tie their shoes. Now ask yourself, which of these tasks can I train my child to do now so they won't be forced to wait for my help? It could be, for example, pouring their cereal in the morning or picking out their outfit. Whatever it is, move forward with training them on how they can do it for themselves. And just remember, it'll take time. I mean, I think that these are actually great tools for adults as well, is to take the time to first not respond, not jump right away. I think that works really well. So if somebody calls you, if there's a confrontation or if there's something you need to deal with, or somebody is demanding your attention immediately, maybe wait. Don't respond right away. Give it some space, maybe even 24 hours. That's my rule of thumb. I usually will take 24 hours before I respond to something that is jarring, something that, there's a push and pull with it. So that's a good practice for us too as adults, and it's certainly a good practice with children. Wait and also train them into how to do things for themselves. It takes more time today as you do this with your children today, but imagine the type of adult your child will become. They will automatically learn more patience and tolerance, and in essence, could end up having much, much happier lives, because practicing the art of patience decreases the level of anxiety. It really decreases our level of having to be in a state of reactivity. We do not have to respond to everyone in the moment somebody snaps their finger. It's not necessary. We can definitely wait. Take a breath. And then decide. How wonderful would that be if we all did that very simple practice many times a day? So, my friends, Any questions, comments? Any questions or comments based on our session today on cultivating patience, interpersonal patience, how to work with other people by not assuming the worst, instead assume the best, to learn to not gossip, to simply accept people as they are. And the tool for that is the more you accept yourself as you are, the easier it is to accept the other person as they are. To cultivate patience in social environments. If you're driving your car, notice what happens if somebody cuts you off. Do you want to drive and cut them off? Practice patience in those moments. Every single day, there are an infinite amount of opportunities to practice patience, and it will help you with your mental health. So please get up and out there in the world today and just slow down. Just notice what's happening around you. Take a breath. If you're walking to the train, slow down your walk to the train. If you're driving your car, let other people go in front of you. Where are we all rushing to? If your daughter is being very demanding today, let her wait a little bit. Practice teaching her patience. These are very crucial life-forming tools, not just for children, for adults. We need to practice more patience in this world today. The world is on fire, everyone. Let's pay attention. Nobody is patient anymore. Everybody wants everything done straight away. I know, I live in New York City. God forbid you would have to wait for the train for more than 2 minutes, right? God forbid we have to wait for our internet to kick up. To practice, cultivate the art of patience will help you to deal with situations in your life that are hard. It will help you become more mindful. And you get to pick and choose who you respond to, how you want to respond to people. Don't let other people jerk you around. There's this beautiful practice called patience where you just slow down, take a look at yourself, develop this relationship of honesty of what needs to get done in this moment. So I want to wish you all an exceedingly beautiful day, a successful day. I really hope that everything comes through for you. I think it was you, Danielle, that shared about your apartment and job, sending you much, much light. Get on up there, get on out there, start moving, have faith, have trust. Thank you for being with me here today. I will be here again next Monday at 11 a.m. I'm going to talk about something else. I'm probably having a couple of surprises next week. I'm starting to build up my content library, but also with different offers that I am going to be sharing with you probably as of next week. Enjoy the fall weather. It's cool. It's beautiful. Go out for a walk. If you can go out in the country, start to look at the leaves changing. It's super healthy for your physiology. Get out there, breathe in the cool air, practice patience with thyself and with thy neighbor. You can find my newsletter every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. in your inbox. If you are not signed up for my newsletter, go to artofalignmentacademy.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I send you goodies every week, and I will see you next Monday, same time, same place. I love you all. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for being with me today. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.